Bloomberg. I did a super, super early morning show that was the only global show on the network. And I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to my former self, the girl who was smiling and nodding and not joining basic money conversations because I was too scared. You know, so from the bio that's all beautifully packaged that Tori read and also is on the back of books and things like that is not my entire story. I thought I would tell you where I came from. So hopefully it inspires you that you can speak the language of money, because if I could do it, anyone could do it. I'm also obsessed with alliteration, as you will soon find out, because it also helps very overwhelming topics become easier to tackle. And I'm thinking of writing my next book, even though for the last book I said I was closed for business. I was taking book birth control, like tying my book tubes. We were done. I think we're not done. Becoming quarantine bitch. If anyone else has a suggestion, please chime in, but I'm thinking about a rich bitch part 2. Before I get to part 2, let's get to part 1. So I did not grow up reading the Wall Street Journal on the kitchen counter. I didn't know anything about stocks or bonds. Like maybe the only thing that I knew that had to do with bonds was Bond Girl. I grew up in an immigrant family, so first generation American, and my family only used cash. And so I didn't know what a mortgage was. I didn't know what stocks were. I didn't know anything about finance. And my boyfriend in high school said he wanted to be a hedge fund manager. And I thought the dude wanted to be in gardening, like hedges outside. That is not a joke. He actually dumped me because I couldn't hang out with his Wall Street friends. He went to Yale and wanted to go like to Goldman and all these like fancy banks. And he was like, listen, you're not going to be able to talk to my Wall Street friends. I don't think this is going to work. Fast forward about a decade later, his Wall Street friends started emailing me wanting to be on my show. They definitely wanted to hang out. And I definitely felt like the brunette Elle Woods. Who's laughing last? So I am rooting for you, and so is your future self. I know we are going through chaos. I know we're going through really challenging times right now, but it's so important to turn these challenging times into a challenge for yourself. And when I started after network news for more than a decade, I started my own company because I wanted to democratize this language of money. And I actually started with a company called Recessionista. So it was recessionista.com. And a year later, the recession ended. And I was like, yay for the economy, boo for my business. But I learned how to pivot, and I'm pivoting now for the 20th time, perhaps, since I started as my own boss. So I pivoted that into what became Rich Bitch. And my goal for Rich Bitch was democratizing that financial content. I actually rewrote a financial dictionary in the back of the book, like talking about this jargon stuff in real straight up talk, like you and I would talk over drinks. And I realized that money is a language just like anything else. We just don't have a Rosetta Stone for that language growing up. So we learn a lot of bullshit things in school. How to dissect a frog, the Pythagorean theorem. Like, I'm not entirely sure why we need to know that. Chime in the comments if you've ever used the Pythagorean theorem as a grown-ass woman. I have not. You know, if I were in charge of the world, we would learn about budgets and taxes and business plans, but we don't. And a lot of us don't learn this in our family. You know, I had a really broken home. My father died of a drug overdose when I was 11. My mother sort of pieced out. And so that's why I'm coming over to Tori and Heidi's house for Thanksgiving this year. I'm just inviting myself over. But I was dealt a really terrible hand, and I played that hand the best I could. And I won big. So I tell you that because I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I barely had a spoon of food in my mouth growing up. So if I can do this, anyone can do it. And it's not that complicated once you learn it. You know, I would break out into hives or start sweating like so much that I would need maxi pads under my armpits with all of this jargon. And then I realized that like short is not the opposite of tall, it's the opposite of long, and some just means something's going in the pooper. Like it's not that complicated once you can actually speak the language. You know, if you don't speak Chinese and you go to China, you will be super confused. If you do not speak the language of money and you go to Wall Street and you cover finance like I did on the floor of the exchange, I started when I was 18, by the way, you will be very confused because it is a language. And I think that's the first step to actually getting your financial life together, is speaking the language. So I actually started, I was at Northwestern and I wanted to be a television anchor. I went to a small broadcasting station in Chicago. I started actually working on the air when I was in college at these little markets, paying my dues, so to speak, because there was no ways to skip steps. Like I didn't have any fancy connections or anything like that. So I did it the hard way. And I stalked affectionately this station chief in Chicago that ran a bunch of small stations, one in Milwaukee that I was like convinced that I was destined to work at. And so I showed up and gave my whole spiel, gave my little tape, probably wore shoulder pads, teased my hair, tried to look older, definitely had major imposter syndrome. And he was like, okay, that's ridiculous. You're not taking the train to Milwaukee from Chicago. Also, learn geography. But do you know anything about business news? And I was like, oh my dear God. In my mind, I was like, no, not business news. And what came out of my mouth was, absolutely. I love business news all day, every day. And I figured it out. I figured it out the hard way. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I didn't get my MBA. I didn't work at a bank. That's why I speak like this. And I then spoke it to the world. I never imagined I would be teaching other people how to speak this language. So just understand that when you hear in the news, like equities are falling or whatever, that just means stocks are going down. Like it's not complicated once you know how to speak that language. And so the first step when you're trying to get your financial life together in this environment, or BC, like before Corona, I broke that down into the 3 E's. Remember, I told you I love alliteration. So I think of a spending plan like an eating plan. You know, budgeting sucks, but so does being broke. And being broke sucks way more. I actually had a billboard for Rich Bitch during the launch that said just that, budgeting sucks, but so does being broke. Yeah, it's not super comfy cozy, but you know, understanding what you have coming in and what you have going out is the only way for you to take control. Like they say, the best diet is the one where you sit in front of the mirror naked anytime you want to eat. Well, this is about getting naked with your finances. And typically I would say, you know, a spending plan like an eating plan allows for small indulgences so you don't end up binging later on. So in an eating plan that's sustainable, not some BS crash diet thing with like Atkins, I mean, I don't know what's in now, keto, like juice blends, grapefruit, whatever, you end up feeling starved. You end up feeling so deprived that you end up in the middle of the night noshing on a big old hunk of chocolate cake because you're so hungry and so deprived. And why do you think that is? Because you didn't allow yourself small indulgences. So that's why I have the essentials, end game, and extras. And in the BC world, I would say put 70% of your overall income, so your take-home pay, to essentials. So that means housing, transportation, food, everything you need to live on every single day. Then 15% to the end game. So your future self, your retirement, your investing, all of that good stuff. And no more than 15% to the extras. So like I would always argue for the morning latte. I know a lot of financial experts have now come out and said the same thing, but back in the day, I would go up against, you know, some of the older financial experts, which was awesome. I just, you know, had a different audience. And I was like, no, we can buy a latte and rent. There is nothing in the financial world that's gospel. We don't have to not buy a latte and buy a house. Like the financial gods are not going to come down and get us. It's not one size fits all. You just have to think, what works for you, not just because it's always been done a certain way, whether it's through your family or what you've heard, like told over and over again as gospel. It's not. Like, even the stuff that I'm saying to you, I just encourage you to look at some of those quote unquote rules and see if that works for you. It's like that moment that's so important regardless of what you decide. When I decided I was going to become a vegetarian, you know, my family ate meat growing up, and I asked myself, do I like meat? And you know what? The answer could have been yes, but the answer was no. And so I became a vegetarian. But, you know, it's that moment where you have to ask yourself what works for you. So now I've changed that allocation from 70, 15, 15 to 65, 30, and 5, because hello, we can't buy lattes right now, which is very sad state of affairs along with everything else going on. And it's so much more important to squirrel more money away. So I increased the end game to about 30%. Look, it's raining. You know, we've heard everybody, including our grandmas, probably talk about a rainy day fund. Like, hello, it's raining right now. It is downpouring. It is time to use that rainy day fund. Don't feel guilty about it, but remember that it's important to stockpile it up yet again. Woo! Then, told you I love and obsessed with alliteration. So here's the next most important thing. And I only have 20 minutes. So as you guys know, I could talk forever and ever and ever, but I'm going to give you, these are my 3 biggest tips. So come up with your goals in all aspects of your life. So I said for rich bitch and boss bitch, the 3 F's. So these are my F words, and the spending plan were the 3 E's. So I had family, finance, and fun. And I broke that down into 1, 3, 5, 7, 10-year goals because that felt more manageable. You'd always get questions like, you know, in the elevator from your boss, from your in-laws, whatever. What do you want to be in 5 years? What do you want to do in 10 years? And I would get so much anxiety because hello, I didn't actually answer the question. And studies have shown that women who create cohesive narratives for themselves and their lives are more likely to be successful. So what is your narrative? I broke this down. And then, you know, for your family life as well, I don't know if I have time for this story. I'm going to tell it really quick. So I had a mentor on Morning Joe when I was anchoring on CNBC, and she would call me and coach me and tell me what I was, you know, how my voice was and, you know, what I was wearing. She would give me criticism, sort of. And she was on an early morning show, so we would talk every day. And one day she calls me. This was Mika Brzezinski. I didn't name her. I'm not sure. I made it pretty obvious who it was. And she was the one that famously burned scripts of Paris Hilton when MSNBC producers wanted her to read about it. She was like, no, I am not reading about this, period, end of story. So she's super badass. She called me one day and she was like, do you want to get married? And I was like, what? Mika, I thought you'd never ask. No, seriously. I was like, no, I'm married to my career. What? I'm like 27. I'm not thinking about that right now. And she was like, you have to think about this because it's not your work life and your personal life. It is your one full life. And if you're not happy in one area, you're not going to be happy in general. And guess what's most time, money, and energy intensive? Children. So it doesn't matter if you want to have 5 kids or 10 cats, like just decide what you want and plan ahead for that. And I was like, yeah, but you know, those girls that are all thirsty, like want to get married and all the things. I was like, I'm not that girl. Like I have my own stuff together. Amanda's not a financial plan. And she was like, yeah, but you have to put the same effort into that. And so I wrote down, I was like, oh my gosh, I write it in my books, what my goals were. I'm always like, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I always go first with this hard stuff. I even talk about how much I made at all these places because I knew y'all would wonder. And I say how much I made for the books because I also knew y'all would wonder and I don't care. So somebody has to go first. And so year 1, I was like, go on a date. Year 3, I was like, have a boyfriend. I didn't know what to write. It didn't matter. Ultimately, like all of those goals changed. I ended up meeting somebody who, you know, had kids and that whole like plan went out the window. But I revised it. And the point is that you need direction. It's like saying you want to go to a party in New York City You have questions about this party. What street is this party on? What am I wearing to this party? What am I bringing to this party? If you don't know the destination, it's really hard for you to get there. And even if those things change along the way, it's important to have a roadmap as you go along, constantly editing and re-editing these things. And for my last book, Becoming Superwoman, which is basically lean out and talks about going from burnout to balance, I said mea culpa. Guys, I forgot an F word. It's not that one, although that one is important too in your life. It's fitness, and that's mental and physical fitness. And for me, becoming a superwoman had a space in between. And that wasn't just for my legs on the cover. It was that space allowed for you, the woman, and put your oxygen mask on first. I know we're not going on planes these days before helping others. And it's so important. You can't be of service to anyone else if you're crashing and burning yourself. And so the 1, 3, 5, 7, 10-year goals, I would encourage you to do in all aspects of your life and make sure they're compatible. You know, you can't have your finance goal, your career goal to be, you know, an emergency room doctor, and then your family goal to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, that's not compatible. Sorry. You can't have your fun goal to be fly private around the world and your career goal be a kindergarten teacher. Like, I wish kindergarten teachers made more money, but those things are not compatible. So figure out the destination and then reverse engineer to figure out how to get the money to live the life you want. You know, at events back in the day, back in the BC day, people would say, you know, here's my goal, Nicole. I just want $1 million. And I'm like, really? What are you going to do with those $1 million? Maybe you need more than $1 million. Maybe you need less than $1 million. I have no idea. First, figure out the life you want to live, and then we're going to reverse engineer to figure out how to get the money to live the life you want. And I truly believe investing in yourself will pay most dividends later on. And if you don't know what dividends are, well, you'll find it in the back of Rich Bitch. Maybe that's why I was single for so long, because I wrote financial dictionaries on my free time. And as you know, Tori from Boss Bitch, I also rewrote business dictionaries as well, as you're thinking through how you're going to be pivoted in your career. And we're all doing that right now. And I did it, by the way, during terrible economic times. Huge companies started during recessions and depressions. If you find me on the gram, y'all are probably way younger than I am. So I don't know if it's the gram or Insta or IG or whatever. Find me there. I've been doing a lot of timely posts on what's going on in the economy right now. But also I did a post about the companies that started during terrible economic times. So Trader Joe's, Disney, GE, GM, Hyatt, all started during a recession or a depression. So don't assume that just because these are bad economic times that you can't be a winner after this. The winners look the darkness in the eye and they become their brightest self when all of this is over. So I would love to take your questions. Tori, how do you think the best way to do that is?
I am gonna, you're the host now, so you
okay.
You have ultimate control.
I'm gonna pass the baton. Oh, really?
Awesome.
I like this.
I think.
Oh my gosh, you guys, 350 questions or comments? What?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Guys, what questions do you have? So you guys can submit in the Q&A box.
Okay.
So that.
Let's see.
On. I think you have to pass the baton back over to me, though.
Oh, how do I pass this baton?
Go to participants and then go more under my name and make me the host.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, bye.
There we go. I'm the host now.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. So, Mallory wants to know, what is the first book you would recommend everyone reading of your series?
Of mine? Of Rich Bitch. I would start with Rich Bitch. It's sort of, they build on each other. So Rich Bitch is 12-step plan to get your financial life together. Boss Bitch is a 12-step plan to get your career together. And Becoming Superwoman is a 12-step plan to go from burnout to balance. So you need to get your career together in order to be burnt out. So it's sort of the progression there. So I would start with
Guys, Rich Bitch is so good. It literally changed my life. I just want everyone to read it. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's see.
That means so much to me.
What is a good amount of money to put in your extras? I think this is a great question. I've been thinking about investing my money And like, how do you know and calculate, like, what is your rainy day fund? What is your extra fund? Like, how do you know what that is, what's comfortable for you?
Okay, so my allocation that I talked about before was for the extras,
Right.
and in normal times it would be like about 15% of your take-home pay. Now we're not buying a lot of stuff except those tie-dye sweatsuits that we get from Instagram. Not mad at you.
So many.
Not mad at you. The alcohol I feel like should be in the essentials category.
Right.
But
Especially
keep it
now.
to, yeah, give yourself some, 5% right now in normal times, about 15%. And if you're just starting to budget, then I would say take that money out in cash. And when the cash is done, the party's over until next month. Sometimes it's easy to swipe, especially when you're a little tipsy and things like that. And so it's hard to like just guesstimate. That's where we really got in trouble. But as far as a rainy day fund or an emergency fund, I normally suggest about 6 months of the essentials. So when rainy days happen, like we're seeing right now, we're not going to the club. Like we're not getting a cute dress. We're not doing all of that stuff. We're keeping it super basic. And so that's why you need about 6 months of the essentials squirreled away. If you have a more precarious job, like you're or a real estate broker or a model or whatever, and like your income wasn't very consistent, then I would say more like 9 months to a year.
So I see a lot of questions coming in about especially like debt and how to maintain that, the rainy day fund, the extras and all of that on top of having debt. So like, what is your best advice to balance the both, but also like pay off your debt quickly and efficiently, and not, I think your 20s, you just like don't know what the right balance is. You want to get it done, but like you also, there's just this total ups and downs of it all. So what is your best advice for that?
Totally. So Tori, as you know from Rich Bitch, I come up with a plan to prioritize to pulverize because I love alliteration, but also because you really have to pay off your highest interest rate debt first. Like not all debt is created equal. And I'm seeing a lot of questions about investing, which is awesome too. And I definitely love to touch on that for a second, but prioritize to pulverize is how I got the debt monkey off my back. So remember I told you that I grew up in an immigrant family where we used cash and like, I never had a credit card. I was always that weird girl, like when everybody threw their credit card down for dinner or whatever, I was like, here's my check. I know, I was so weird. I'm still so awkward. But money is a very complicated, overwhelming topic, and having these conversations, is more about humanities, ladies, than about math. The math to get your financial life together, like a fifth grader can do. It's the humanities part that's really the trickiest. So it's like, how do you pay at dinner with your girlfriends? Do you split it based on what you ordered? How do you talk to your significant other about money? Like all of those things are the most challenging things. That's, my show Hush Money is with the editor-in-chief of Entrepreneur Magazine, Jason Pfeiffer. It's on iHeartRadio. And we're now back for a special bonus season because there's so many questions right now. But we talk specifically about the hush hush, why this is so taboo. We'll talk about everything at dinner with our girlfriends before we talk about money. We'll talk about our, bikini wax. We'll talk about our sex life. We'll talk about politics. Like, forget it. Politics isn't taboo. Sexy time is not taboo. And then I all of a sudden say like, hey, what are you making this year? Or like, what's your partner making, or how much y'all have saved? And I'm there to help, obviously. Because I think we need to talk about it. That's where I put my money literally where my mouth is, and I go first. And it's crickets. I'm like, bitch, you just told me about your landing strip. Like, now you're not going to tell me about your money? Like, I'm sorry. There's something odd about this. And so when I started at CNN, I got this credit card and I was stoked. And so I got myself in $5,000 of credit card debt, which was a lot for me. And I broke it down by the day, which felt way more manageable.
Wow.
So I got out of it. I talk about that story in Rich Bitch, how I got out of it by prioritizing credit card interest rates first. So typically it goes credit cards, which is your highest APR, which you should negotiate, which is a whole other speech that I could give.
So many things.
Then so many things. Then it would probably be your car note or your car loan if you do have one, because you don't want to pay on a depreciating asset. then it would be your mortgage if you had one, and your student debt last, because creditors can take away your house, they can take away your car, they can take away your stuff, they cannot take away your brain. And so if you had like $100, let's say, and you had a bill for $100, like not all debt is created equal. So you can't just like say, oh, this is really cathartic, I'm going to pay this $100 bill, like bye-bye. You would put that $100 toward the credit card debt first to get
Love it. That's a great answer.
Back.
So good. So guys, also if you put your questions instead of in the chat in the Q&A, Nicole can actually go type in the answers after she's done too. So I know that there's a lot of you who did put questions in there. So if you go ahead and put them in the actual Q&A, she is actually able to go answer them for you after we're done. And I want to ask one more question, and then I really don't want this to end, but obviously we have to keep going.
No.
Can you just stay on forever? We'll have to do maybe a follow-up podcast or something and do all of the questions.
Thanks for your support. Yeah.
But
it's been busy, by the way, for me now. This is the time where like women in particular are listening. And it's been hard in the past for me to get us to care about finances proactively. It's always reactively. It's like, health and wealth. It's usually a reactive thing. It's like when you get sick, you start eating healthy. When there's crisis, we start thinking about finances. But I'm here for it, and I'm here to answer all the questions. I'm assuming this next one is about investing or index funds, because that's the one I'm getting the most.
Yes. So I was going to say, what's your number one top like investing advice or just feedback in general, especially with everything going on right now. And we're going to get into investing too a little bit later also, I'm sure a little bit, cool. But what is your number one top investing advice for all these ladies?
Okay. So, we've been seeing a bunch of memes like, don't touch your face, don't touch your 401k. So don't touch it or your investments. By the way, you're going to have to pay taxes if you do. People don't talk about that part, which sucks. I don't want to pay taxes right now. Thank you very much.
No one does.
No. So, buy low, sell high is one of two truisms I know on Wall Street. Remember I said, like, you can rethink everything. You can't rethink that. And you can't just, if you're curious about the other one is it's better to beat low expectations. That's in life and in Wall Street. But for buy low, sell high, it's always proven to be true. The problem is, we don't know where the low is and we don't know where the high is, right? So that's why it's really important to do this thing called dollar cost averaging, which I know sounds blah, like my eyes are glazing over. No, it's not that complicated. So dollar cost averaging means, because we're closer, we can all agree, to the low than we are the high right now. We just don't know how low it's going to go. Stuff is on sale. Think of it that way. Like, stuff is on sale. So you would want to buy stuff. Like, think about a sweater, especially if it's a really good investment that you're going to keep for a long time. If it's on sale, it's awesome. But let's say it's on sale for 30% off. Like, maybe it will go down to 50% off. Maybe it'll go down to 70% off. I don't know. In the stock market, there's no price matching situation if you found it, at Shopbop for less. It doesn't work that way. But dollar cost averaging is really important. For easy math, I would say, assume you have $12,000 that you want to invest in the market. And you would put $1,000 every month into the market, because then you will be hedging for fluctuations in the market. So you would, who knows if the day, instead of putting $12,000 on one day, like, you're not exactly sure if that's going to be closer to the low or to the high. You're basically spreading it out. That's all dollar cost averaging means. So if you do have money on the sidelines, that's another Wall Street term, then and you do have a long horizon, which seems like all these young ladies do, before you retire, and you're not putting all your savings in, like, it's actually a really good time to be investing. But if you make sure you're dollar cost averaging, and the first step is figuring out whether you want to be hands-on or hands-off. So hands-on investing are like the Charles Schwabs of the world, the Fidelities. These are like where you're picking stuff, which I don't suggest necessarily. You can go the other way as well and automate things, or the robo advisors, which sound like sci-fi, but it's not. So it's the Betterments and the Wealth Fronts of the world. It's more hands off. So we've heard Warren Buffett. If y'all don't know who Warren Buffett is, he's probably the greatest investor of our time. And he was famously quoted as saying, Americans should, I would put all of my money essentially for investing in low cost index funds. Make sure you check out the costs. Again, so many things to talk about, but those are the basics. Index funds basically track the entire index. So the Dow, for example, is an index, right? Those are 30 big juicy companies. So the S&P 500, obviously 500 big juicy companies. And so you're tracking the entire index. So it's basically a diversified portfolio by buying the index fund instead of starting to like stock pick. I don't suggest, especially if you're just starting out, just start stock picking.
I love that. I mean, it's a lot of information, but you guys, if you read her books, it all makes sense. And the dictionary is literally the most life-saving thing that I've ever had. So thank you so much, Nicole, for everything. And then
ladies.
If you guys do have other questions, if you're willing to go in and type some answers.
Yeah, totally. And I think we have somebody from our team in the comments as well. So hopefully.
Cool, perfect. I can promote
somebody
to panelists so that they can do that too. Just go ahead and message me and I'll go ahead and do that so that you guys can both answer. But thank you so much. That was so amazing. I know that if everyone got as much as I got out of it and out of your book, then, it just is such a good launch to understanding this situation and everything that comes with it. So thank you so much for being so awesome.
I'm so glad. Thank you
Literally
for being so
Superwoman.
Awesome. And thank all of you ladies for being so awesome. And yeah, I'll jump in here. Otherwise, find me on socials and stuff, and you can ask questions about what's happening. It's all very confusing right now with what's happening in Washington and stimulus stuff and PPP and SBA. They all sound like STDs, but they're not. It's like a whole alphabet soup. So yeah, I'm on it.
Perfect.
Thanks, Tori, and I'll see you on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yes, trust me. You don't want to miss our Thanksgivings. We've got the barbecue chef, my stepdad, who makes a good turkey. So,
yes,
okay.
Please. I'm here for
awesome, ladies. Well, hold on. Let me go ahead and get back to where, hold on one second. I have all of her slides in here. Okay. Can y'all see that as the new screen? Let's see. Cool. Perfect. So guys, it's so much information, I know, but it's so beneficial. All of it's so awesome. And Nicole has also been kind enough to provide us with some resources to send you guys after the event, as well as a discount code for her course Money School, which she didn't even get the chance to talk about. So I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. I need it. I'm sure there's very many people out there who do too. And I'm sure you guys are just as excited about her new book as I am. And we have some copies to give away for you guys. So on that note, I want you all to go check out our most recent post on Instagram. You'll see Nicole's beautiful face right there, first one in the feed. So go ahead and go comment your biggest takeaway from Nicole's talk today. What was the number one thing you're going to take away from her talk that you learned and that you are just going to run with? I'm going to talk about some more awesome stuff that you could win right now. So while you guys go do that, you can hear a little bit more about what you're also going to get. By the way, all these products that we promote are all tested and approved by Team She. We all personally tested them before we ever include them in this. And they're all great quarantine essentials, which I think we can all appreciate right now. So 2 of you who go submit a comment with your biggest takeaway are going to be getting a variety pack from our sponsor, Loopy Bars, including 12 delicious, healthy, they're so adorable, they're awesome. They're actually made from the small but mighty lupini bean and have about 10 grams of plant protein and 9 grams of fiber. They're whole food, vegan, gluten-free, no added sweeteners, 5 to 6 ingredients, 3 amazing flavors. Peanut butter, cacao nib, almond butter, cinnamon raisin, tahini, lemon, raspberry was my absolute favorite. So good. And then 5 of you are also going to be winning this amazing, I can't speak words, amazing lash serum from Babe Lash. And guys, seriously, I had lash extensions for like 4 months before quarantine. And then obviously a month ago when all of this started, I completely obviously had to stop going. And I literally went from having no lashes to like the longest lashes ever. I'll show you guys. I don't know if you can see. So the stuff is awesome. It works 100%. So go comment your biggest takeaway so you can win all these fun goodies. And I can't wait to see who wins. It'll be so exciting. And we're going to go ahead and dive into our fireside chat with some rockstar finance experts. We've got Jessica Morehouse, Sandra Graham, and Chloe Elise. Guys, these ladies are seriously such boss babes and have so much knowledge. You know, there's just so much information that we're throwing at you guys, but it's also helpful. And I just want everyone to get the most out of it. So I know you guys had a lot of questions for Nicole. Also want you all to go check out our stories while you're on our Instagram and submit your questions in the question box there in order to also be entered to get some pretty awesome things, including the finance she kit, which has Nicole's book, Becoming Superwoman, in it. So what questions do you have for these guys? I have some questions prepared for them, but we're gonna have a Q&A at the end where I ask them your questions. So go ahead and go submit those. I'm monitoring them right now, so I'll be able to see them pop up. And I am going to bring in our awesome panel. Give me 1 second. Okay. Unmute. Why isn't it letting me unmute you guys? Hold on. Unmute.
Hello.
Who do we got? Jessica, we got you.
Yeah. Hi.
Chloe,
Hello.
are you there?
Yes,
Hello.
this is Chloe.
Okay, cool. And then Sandra, you are there. Guys, I don't know why it's not letting me share your video though.
Okay, I think I can do that myself. Unable to start video. Never mind.
I don't know. That's so bizarre. Okay. Wait, allow panelists to start video. Now you should be good. So we can see all your beautiful faces.
There we go.
Perfect.
Yay.
Awesome. Hi, ladies. Welcome. I'm so excited that you're all here. Let's just go ahead and start by going down the line. You guys can tell us a little bit who you are, where you're from, and I want you to also say why being financially free or how being financially free has changed your life. So, Sandra, you're top of my list right now. So do you want to start us off?
Yeah, for sure. So, hi, everyone. So excited to be here tonight. So I'm Sandra. I am the CEO of Smart Cookies and co-founder of Smart Cookies. I live in Denver now, but I actually founded my company in Vancouver with my girlfriends 12 years ago, which is so crazy. And we formed a money club and a group of girlfriends. And together, our whole mission was to start talking openly about money and to really support one another to make our financial goals happen. And so we were able to do that. And now the business of Smart Cookies helps other women do the same. And so, yeah, I mean, that empowerment has allowed me to, like Nicole was talking about, that vision and that dream I had for my life, taking control of my finances was the reason that my life is where it is today. So it's a little bit about me.
Love it. Love it. Jessica, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I really, because Nicole kind of mentioned that a lot of her story is about the last recession, and that's very similar to me. I really started my own personal finance journey during the last recession. It really shaped how I decided to shift my career into now finance and just learn more about how to empower myself through personal finance. So I'm all about talking money, which I really love. And I love to get people to open up about it and talk about it more. And so now I worked in the corporate world for about 8 or 9 years. And then 3 years ago, left that to start my own kind of financial literacy company. And it's been interesting to shift also running your own business during probably the next recession, this pandemic. So it's been very interesting, but I've definitely learned a lot from the last recession to now. So I don't honestly feel that worried about finances, which is, I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Yeah, there you go. And then Chloe, how about you?
Yay. I'm so excited to be here. I have my fiance always jokes that I'm landing an airplane when I have this headset on, but it's so clear.
Look like that.
I love the audio. But yes, my name is Chloe. I'm the CEO of Deeper Than Money, and I'm from Kansas City, live in the Midwest. And financial freedom for me, the biggest thing is having a detachment from money. Growing up, I did not have, I came from like a lower middle class family. I was, babysitting and starting to earn money, but I was so attached to it. And so one thing would happen and if I would owe taxes or I would owe someone or I would have to pay something, it was so emotionally damaging for me. And it was this whole ordeal and I was so stressed and had so much anxiety about it. And so being able to have financial freedom to where when I make a decision on if I'm going to go on a vacation or we're about to get a second puppy, my first instinct isn't how much does it cost? What are we going to do? But yes, of course, that's a decision and that's part of the decision, but that's not the number one thing stopping me or making me wonder, should I not do this or can I not have this? But to be able to have that detachment, like to me, that's freedom.
Totally. I want to jump into that too a little bit later because I completely feel you with the emotions that come with money. And I'm sure a lot of people do too. But Jessica, this first question is for you. So in your 20s and 30s, especially, there's a lot of room for error. And especially when it comes to your finances, I know a lot of people are paying off student loans and racking up credit card debt and not being totally in the know when it comes to managing our finances. Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have? I know that you talk a lot about fixing your finances. And especially when it comes to like preparing yourself for big purchases in your 20s and 30s, like buying a house or a new car or whatever that might be.
Yeah, I'd say what's really important, and it wasn't really talked about a ton when I was learning about personal finance, was the importance of setting goals. And that is actually the first place you should start. It's really not about, I talk a lot about, having a budget and all that stuff, but it's really about outlining what are those things. Most of the clients that I work with, they've never actually written that out or really thought about it. It's always just kind of been in their mind, but they've never kind of put it to paper. And so really outlining what are some of the things that you want or think that you want, and then revising those and really being like, well, why do you want that? I know a lot of people in their 20s feel like they need to buy a home. And I always ask them like, well, why do you want to buy a home? They're like, I don't know, because that's what my parents told me that it's smart to do. Or I've been told that if you're renting, it's like throwing your money away. They're not necessarily doing it for their own reasons. And very well, they might actually want to travel instead or move somewhere else. So really outlining your goals and defining why do you actually want them will kind of give you that sense of direction. And then you kind of work kind of backwards to be like, okay, well, how much does that goal cost? And how can I achieve that? How much do I have to save now? What do I have to prioritize? And typically when you are, especially in your 20s or even in your 30s and still kind of starting your career, saving up that emergency fund and really making a debt repayment plan are kind of the two biggest things. And then once you've kind of got those figured out, starting to investing and build your wealth is the next kind of step. But I feel like one important thing is to not put so much pressure on yourself. This is a big anxiety here from people in their 20s and 30s. It's okay if you don't own a home in your 20s, or if you don't own a home until you're in your mid 30s or 40s. It's okay. You create your own timeline. Don't get so caught up in, oh, I have to do all of this before 30. I used to be really anxious about not achieving a lot in my career or my personal life by 30. And then I hit 30 and I'm like, oh, nothing changed. It's fine. You have more time. You actually have more time than you think.
Awesome. And then Chloe, I want you to touch on this subject a little bit too, because you paid off $36,000 in less than 18 months of debt. And I thought I saw somewhere that you're also paying for your wedding completely in cash. So talk a little bit about that execution of actually paying off the debt and how you did that.
For sure. So I actually started this whole financial journey when I was in college. And a lot of people assume that, oh, you must have just gotten this great job and done this. But I went from being a broke college student to starting to pay that debt off when I was in college, working like minimum wage jobs, working in the college mailroom. And I really just started making my money work for me instead of constantly chasing money and being like, where did that go? Where did that go? How am I supposed to do this? But instead being in charge and being empowered of, I choose where my money goes. I choose what I'm doing. And the biggest thing that I always tell people is that if the way to make sure you're hitting your goals is to hit your goals first and then live your life. So many people were like, okay, I'm going to live my life. I'm going to buy what I want, do what I want. And then with whatever's left over, then I'll save. Then I'll pay off debt. Then I'll do that. And I do it absolutely opposite. I flip that script. And so the first thing I do every month is hit my goal. And then I say, okay, cool. What's left over? I'm going to put that toward, obviously I'm making sure I have my rent covered and all of my essentials, and then, whatever, but especially for my lifestyle money, for my shopping or for this, I always allow myself to do that. People have talked about that earlier of, hey, it's not about saying, no, I can't have something. It's about being real and allocating a specific amount that allows you to have that without restriction. Nicole hit on that. That was amazing. But so for me, it's always about having that allocation of fun money, but also saying, I'm not going to shop until I've hit that goal, and then I can shop. And it feels so much better too, because I never feel guilty for spending either. So it's a win-win. You get to hit those goals and, buy those new Lululemon leggings too.
I love it. Yeah. I think we need to obviously celebrate a lot more, especially when it comes to finances. And Sandra, I want you to talk a little bit more about this. Like, I love everything that Smart Cookies is about. You talk about getting smart with your money wasn't about becoming obsessed with spreadsheets or budgeting or skipping your daily latte and all those things. And I love how like the secret ingredient that you guys found was through talking about it and your friendships and being just vocal about it. And I know Nicole touched on that too. Like, why is it such a topic that it's kind of like this yucky, icky topic when it comes to our girlfriends? Like, how did you like just throw that away? And how can we better support each other as women and friends in talking about finances?
Yeah. So in my experience, and I see this over and over again, it's that vulnerability loves vulnerability. So in our first Money Club meeting, like if we go back to the 5 of us at Katie's kitchen table with like bottles of wine, and it was literally laying out our credit card statement, our bank statement. It was, so my girlfriend, Andrea, who was, she was the girl at work that you always looked at and you're like, oh my God, this girl has it so together. Like, I aspire to be her. And in that meeting, she revealed that she was substantially in debt. She had creditors calling her at work. She had a work trip to go on, where her boss was like, oh, just put it on your credit card and we'll reimburse you. And she had an anxiety attack at her desk because she couldn't put it on her credit card. And she was so ashamed to admit that. And so I think it takes one person to kind of open up, and then the floodgates open up. It's like, oh my God, like you're stressed about that too. Oh my God, you want to buy a house? So do I. And so that was my experience. And I think what's amazing about this group tonight and about what you all are doing, it's that you know those friends who like are going to cheer you on no matter what, and who like see the best version of you and they're like, yes, girl, like you go be that girl and I will help you and support you. So I think gravitate towards those people. I know we can't do it in person right now, but doing events like this and connecting over Instagram and, connecting with your people and sending a DM and doing whatever you can to connect. And slowly but surely, as you start those conversations, and then the floodgates open, it's like, okay, well, how much are you making? And, and taking it to the next level. And I think that's where the conversation starts, and that's where the magic happens.
Totally. It's so funny. I think back when I started my first job, everyone made the exact same thing starting off. So we were all so completely open about our salaries and what we were making. And our commission was literally posted on the board for the whole entire office to see. So everyone knew. And it was so hard for me when I stopped doing that job to realize that no one else had that. And I think having those open conversations is so important so that we can celebrate the wins and we can also talk about the lows and get to that next level of vulnerability is so important, especially amongst women where we are so hard on ourselves, but hard on each other too. Yeah. So going off of that, I think that there's a lot of us who are just extremely obviously worried about the current situation and being even more hard on ourselves. And it's definitely, everyone's in a different situation. And if we're all open about it and talk about it, obviously that can help. But what is your guys' best tips to getting through this right now and to leaning on each other and to just make the best of what we have in the situation financially? I know any of you guys can answer this. Anyone want to go? Feel strongly about it?
I'll answer.
Okay.
I feel strongly about this. So, my biggest thing is allowing yourself to throw that pity party when something sucks. So, like for me, we're supposed to be getting married in August. And so, like my bridal shower got canceled, things like that. And I'm like, I'm like on my floor, like, this is so unfair for like 20 minutes. Okay. And then I like put my, boss bitch pants on and stand up. And I'm like, all right, we're going to get through this. And I think the biggest thing is allowing those feelings to happen, but understanding that growth doesn't come during that pity party. So once you have that pity party and once you do that, allowing yourself to distance from that and then move forward, because you can't move forward in that moment. And the biggest thing is that what you focus on expands. And so if I'm constantly thinking, oh, what am I going to do about money? Oh my gosh, there's no money. Oh my gosh, all these jobs are being gone. Oh my gosh, unemployment is raising. Oh my gosh, that is what I'm going to be seeing more of. Our brains are constantly looking for evidence to support what we believe. And so if that's my belief, all I'm going to see is evidence that supports that. And so the best thing you can be doing right now is when you're done throwing that pity party to say, what are the ways I can focus on how things are actually really great right now and how there are so many new opportunities to make money online. I did an exercise recently in my Facebook group where I wrote on, this is a whiteboard behind me, a marker board, and I was like, somebody time me, I'm going to write out all the ways I can think of to make money online. And I was like transcribing, recording this, doing all these things, going on Facebook Marketplace, just writing all these things. And if we can start thinking like, whoa, this is a great time to start an online business. This is a great time to make money online. This is a great time to do this. Our brain is going to look for more evidence to support that. So yes, things are out of our control in a lot of ways, but there's so much money on the table still, and we can stand up and take advantage of that.
I love that, Chloe. And I feel like that's the same. I'm like, there's so much, if we choose to see it that way, opportunity to not only like hustle and make the money, but also like we are having conversations about money right now. And sometimes it takes a situation like that to really dig in and look at your expenses and understand where things are happening and think about like, oh my gosh, I don't have, in Smart Cookies, we call it our Sleep Peacefully Fund instead of the emergency fund.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's thinking about, okay, I was freaking out because I didn't have 2 months or 3 months or 6 months worth of expenses. So now is the time to do it. So I believe that we are going to come out stronger and smarter financially. And that especially as women, I mean, this is where we shine. Like, this is where we come together and this is where the opportunity is. But yeah, like give yourself that moment, like let yourself have those days and then rise above it because there's lots of opportunity to be had.
Yeah, I think one thing I've been, I think this is just like very reminiscent to, 10 years ago with the last recession. And I had a lot of guilt and shame because I took on personal responsibility for it because I was just out of university and I was told I was supposed to get a job and all this stuff, move out. And that was delayed because of the economic situation. And I thought it was my fault. And it took me years to realize it wasn't your fault. It was just really, crummy circumstances. And I think the same thing is happening right now, especially a lot of people graduating right now. There is just a lot going on, and you need to remember it's not your fault that you can't find a summer job or that you can't find any job, or, even if, there are a lot of opportunities to work online. I mean, I'm very lucky that I was able to set up a business that's pretty much just from my home. There's a lot of people that can't do that. And so remember, it's okay if you can't make money online. That's not your fault. This is a weird situation. So if you're in that boat, you can't figure out how to make money from your career right now. It's okay. Maybe take this opportunity to just really educate yourself. And that's what I did back in the day. I mean, back in the day, I don't think you could make a business online. Facebook wasn't even a thing. And so I just took that moment or that time to take out books from the library and look online, look at blogs, listen to podcasts and videos, and just like absorb all this information. And this could be about money, or this could be about, hey, I want to upgrade my skills. So when I do have to look for a job and, there are more jobs, I will have a really nice resume of all these certifications or all of these skills that I've added to, my resume to make me more hireable.
I love that. Yeah. I'm getting a lot of questions come in right now, especially about, sorry, I'm reading them all, just about taking advantage of the investment piece of this all too. I think right now everyone hold on, my earpods are being weird. Okay, that's much better. I couldn't even hear myself talk. Invest, invest, invest. And a lot of people are asking, do I have to be debt free to invest? And even if it's a one-time amount just going into the market, and also like, if I don't have enough money to invest, should I still be investing? So what is your guys' best advice right now, especially taking advantage of the market?
Yeah, so it is, if you have the money right now, yes, it is a good time to be looking at opportunities to invest. But again, like for the long term, right? Like this isn't a like manic, like, okay, I'm gonna like take my stimulus check and just like dump it into Zoom stock, for example. It's important to think for the long term. So if you have a long-term investment, and those of you who are a little bit on the younger side, so you can afford to take a little more risk if you're comfortable with that, with a long-term strategy. But again, dollar cost averaging, like Nicole said, like you don't need to dump a ton right now. Things are changing so fast day to day, and we are at the beginning of what is going to be a long ride, and we're going to come out on the other side of it. So you can be cautious with it, and you can be strategic with it, and you can do your due diligence. Like, don't feel like, oh my God, if I don't invest in the market tomorrow, I'm going to lose my opportunity. Like, take the time and read Nicole's book and visit blogs and listen to podcasts and get comfortable with it, and then kind of ease yourself in. But investing in your 401k and doing things like that, where maybe you want to up your contributions a little bit, is totally a great strategy. But you don't want to do something that is just reactive and in the moment.
Yeah, and going off of that reactive piece, I just want to go off that, and this is a question that any of you guys can answer too. Like, how do you, that emotional aspect of spending and invest, or even if it's investing, like feeling you emotionally have to right now because of the situation, like how do you let go of that emotional push and pull with your money? And, especially in given circumstances. Like for me, I know I'm spending my money more so than I should be, because it's like makes me feel better, and I know that that's not a good thing. But then there's also the other side of that. Like afterwards, I'm like, gosh, I feel so guilty for doing that because I shouldn't be. So how do you let go of that guilt or that emotion? Just emotion, not guilt. I just have guilt.
I would say, talking a little bit specifically about the emotions with investing, and when this all kicked off like a month ago, I was getting so many messages from people being like, I want to start investing. What should I start buying? I'm like, oh my gosh, don't buy anything if you don't know the answer to that question. Like Sandra was saying, when we're talking about investing, typically we are talking about long-term investing so you can build your wealth to retire on that money. And so you don't want to just buy Zoom stock if you have no idea what that means or when to buy it. And if you don't have the intention on, keeping that for a while to actually let that grow, you really want to take the time to educate yourself and maybe work with a professional to build an investment plan. So you understand, how do I build a portfolio? What does a portfolio mean? What's my asset allocation, my risk tolerance? Understanding how to actually build a solid plan for your future, and then figuring out, what are my options? Is it using a robo-advisor, investment firm, DIYing, my investments? And then figuring out how much can I afford to regularly contribute to that investment plan to take advantage of dollar cost averaging. So that is kind of it in a nutshell. But I would say one thing that I do when I mean, believe me, I did some stock buying when things were going a bit crazy. And what I do is just like, give yourself, if you want to do that, give yourself a specific budget on how much you're going to spend, and don't go above that. I mean, I kept on, signed up some subscriptions, and they were saying, oh, get this stock. And I had to unsubscribe from that. I'm like, you know what? It's made me too emotional. And also I reached my budget. I can't afford right now to buy any more individual stocks. So I'm going to just, so it really is just like, maybe limit some of that information, and don't maybe communicate for some of the people that are telling you to buy. Like, just, you never make a good decision if you're just going off emotions. You always want to kind of take a beat, maybe sleep on it.
Yeah. Chloe, I have a question for you, specifically that someone submitted. How would you recommend somebody approach managing money during transitions? And I obviously wanted to direct this question directly to you too, because you talked about your transition, like starting this journey when you were in college, and especially when there's shifts with how much you're making or spending between jobs or moves, or maybe you're out of a job. What is the best way to be proactive and manage those transitional periods?
Absolutely. So the best thing you can do is be prepared. And whether a lot of times people will say, whether it's a vacation or a move to a new city or a move to a new apartment, I'll say, well, what are you planning? What are you budgeting to spend on that? And they'll say, well, I don't know where I'm going on vacation yet, or I don't know where I'm moving to, or I don't know what I'm doing. And I'll say, starting with a number is better than nothing. Having a number in mind of saying, okay, I guess that my move will approximately cost me $1,000 to move plus this amount for my renting plus this, and then you can update it. But knowing that, as opposed to not knowing it, that the not knowing is what creates a lot of fear for us. The unknown of, what if I don't have enough money? What if I don't do this? What if I don't? That's what a lot of times creates the stress for us. When in reality, if we just sit down, look for that, plan for that, and also planning up. I always round up. If I am going to move and I think that moving costs will potentially cost me 800, I'm going to guesstimate 1,000. And if I'm going to look at an apartment that's $1,000 a month, I'm going to also think about the security deposit and maybe a little bit, beef it up a little bit. And so I know that my total move cost might be $5,000 and prepare for that. Another big thing is to be really transparent with people in that move time. So if you are moving to a new job, be transparent and be okay with asking those hard questions of saying, awesome, will you be reimbursing me for this move, for this new position? Or if you are reimbursing me, will this be reimbursed before I move, or will this be something that you're reimbursing me for after? Because again, not knowing and being like, I don't know when they're paying me and I don't know about this, can cause a lot of stress. That if we just, boss up and say, I'm okay with asking these questions. I'm an adult. I can ask this stuff. It can create so much clarity for us when the fear was just not knowing.
Totally. And I know that every single one of you has your own resources available, but where did you start when you started this journey? Like, what resources did you turn to? Everyone, I think, on this panel, and Nicole also talked about learning, like throwing yourself in. So how do you even start that? And where I want all of you to just say, like, your number one favorite place that you turn to for resources, whether it be podcasts or books or whatever that might be. Sandra, you want to go first? You look like you're like quizzitive right now.
I'm like going back to like OG Smart Cookies. I'm like, I see the books on the shelf behind me, like the David Box, the Gene Chaskys. I feel like the like money nerd glasses are like coming on. So those are my go-tos. And then now like Tony Robbins' book on money has been so amazing. I feel like my journey, like personal finance is still so important to me, but entrepreneurship is a huge passion of mine. So following people online, the Jenna Kutchers, there's an amazing girl named Simply Susie that I follow. And I think, and that's the amazing thing about Instagram right now too. And especially now in this world, it's, you can connect and really feel that genuine human connection with so many great people. So those are my go-tos off the top of my head.
Love it. Jessica, you have any good ones on the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, the book that, and I feel like because there's a lot of Canadians that can probably relate to this.
There are
the book
so many Canadians.
So many Canadians. Yay. I'm from Toronto, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. The first book that I picked up that was a big recommendation was The Wealthy Barber. So I feel like every Canadian's probably read that. Now it's a bit older, so I know he has an updated book. So that might be a good resource. But for me, what really actually changed things for me was reading other people's personal finance blogs. It was real people telling, like, lots of them were anonymous, but sharing how much they earned, how much they spent. They would put their like budgets and their net worth statements. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people are sharing their numbers, their real numbers. And it was shocking because I had no idea. I didn't have anything to compare myself to. So reading like other people's personal finance blogs were really, really helpful just to get to know what other people were actually spending. And then so much has changed since I first started, reading personal finance books and all that stuff. It's great to see that there's so many women coming out with books. Back in the day, it was just a bunch of old white men. So it's great to see that there's so many people like Nicole. And I mean, there's so many also like younger people, like millennials too, that they can kind of bring that perspective too. So I have a whole recommendations list on my website because there's so many amazing books now, which is great.
Awesome. We'll link it in the follow-up email so everyone can access that too. Chloe, how about you?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I did it all wrong. I was in college and I knew nothing about money. I knew nothing. And so I went to Google and I'm like, how to become wealthy. I was like Googling stuff. I was reading these like horrible articles that were like written by credit card companies about like open 7 credit cards today. I'm like, okay, I don't know. And so I kind of did the like what not to do of I had to weed through a ton of stuff. So Google is failing me. So I'm like, fine. So I'm like going to the library and like looking at finance books. I'm like, these are so boring. This is like the worst. And so for me, it took so long to sift through and find good stuff. And similar to Jessica, where it really clicked for me was when I started finding like finance blogs or Instagrams of people who were sharing their finance journey. And for me, I was in college, I'm like 21, I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, okay, how to refinance your mortgage. And I'm like, I want to know how to not buy $60 worth of pizza when I'm out with my friends at 2 a.m. at the bar, like, and then wake up and regret that spend. Like, that's what I wanted to know about. And so I really struggled with where is the money tips for millennials? Like, where are the money tips that are fun and easy and I care about? And so that was a huge thing for me. Once I started to sift through all the crap everywhere, I was like, I got to tell people about this because it was so hard for me and it was so discouraging that I was like, I have to go out there and show people that this can be fun and easy and go and give those tips for how to, not wake up and look at your credit card from going out and regret it and those sort of tips. And so, but now, oh my gosh, I have so many recommendations like podcasts. If you just type in money, if you search money and podcasts and just start listening to money podcasts, like so amazing. And you can also find great guests on other ones. I love doing that, especially when I'm looking for new resources. When it comes to finance books, oh my gosh, also similar to Jessica, I could spur out like 1 million. I just finished a couple weeks ago, I finished reading Everyday Millionaires by Chris Hogan. I really liked it. It was a book about how, we think of millionaires as like famous people and trust fund babies, and really millionaires are just normal people who had a financial plan and went after it. So that's a great resource. But again, there's so many different ones that I would recommend.
Love it. Well, thank you, ladies. I know that we're obviously running out of time, but so many amazing resources on all 3 of these ladies' platforms and blogs and podcasts. You guys have to check them out. I mean, you could just literally go for days and days and days listening and reading all of the amazing things you guys have produced and done. So we'll also send up a follow email to everyone with more information on how to get in touch with these wonderful ladies. And I think there's so many questions. Everyone has so many questions about finance and I love it. And there's not even enough time in the world to cover everything. But also, I'm just throwing this out there. Totally okay if you don't do this, but like all the attendees, like feel free to reach out to all of our speakers and ask them questions directly through Instagram. Like that's the amazing thing about social media and how we even connected with them in the first place. So, I just can't tell you guys how much we appreciate you being on and taking the time of your night. I'm starting to lose my words. All of that was so helpful. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. Perfect. Well, we are almost done, everyone. I have a few last couple things. We have another opportunity for a giveaway. So I'm going to switch back to our screen here. And also to the 3 of you, if you want to go into the Q&A, you can also type in answers as well to everyone's questions. So if people had questions that I didn't get to from Instagram, they want to type into the Q&A box for these 3 wonderful ladies to answer, go ahead and do that also. Perfect. I'm going to turn you guys off. Sorry, I really don't want to, but okay, perfect. Awesome. Oh, we skipped a couple of slides. We're going to do this one first. So if you guys still have questions, especially in regards to investing your money, I know so many of you guys have had so many questions on investing. We're actually having a virtual happy hour tomorrow where we're going to have a special guest on who's going to just be like answering all of your questions on investing. I know it's a big topic and one that we could literally talk about for hours. We could have a whole webinar on it. So join tomorrow and it'll be casual. We'll have drinks and we like play fun games, get to know you. It's super fun. We actually have them every Thursday at 5 o'clock. They're so fun. I know everyone in the chat, there's a couple of you that come every week. We have so much fun. So definitely join, and tomorrow will be a special treat having all of your questions answered. You can go to theshefactor.com/virtual happy-hour. It was on my slide and now it's not. I'll send that out to everyone too after as the follow-up, but you can just go on and register for Zoom. It's completely free. So I hope to see you all there. And before we end today, I just want to try something really quick. Even though we can't see each other, I just want everyone to take in all of the information that you just have learned. Even close your eyes if you really want to, even though we can't see each other. But just imagine that money isn't an issue. You've paid off all your debt. You're bringing in more than enough income to support you and your family. You're crossing off all the bucket list experiences because you're finally able to enjoy life without the stress and anxiety of when your next paycheck is coming. Just imagine how amazing that feels. Like, just what does your life look like? What things can you do? What things can you experience that you never thought you could experience before? So, the whole point of this today to all of you is that you can feel like that. This is possible. Look at all 4 of these wonderful women who have made this possible for themselves and started a whole business about it. This is why finance is such an important part of She Factor, because money gives us the ability to do amazing things like see the world and start businesses and live out our dreams. So I want you guys to keep those feelings close to you as you're leaving today, and always come back to that image when you're feeling hopeless or defeated, especially in times right now where it's just so unpredictable. You are so capable of creating a life you love for yourself, a life that just gets you so excited to jump out of bed every day, a life where you don't even want to go to sleep because you don't want to miss a beat. I know, Daisha, you can feel me on this. We've been doing the same thing lately. Like, I literally haven't been wanting to go to sleep because I'm like, I just want to get up and work and do all these amazing things I get to do. And that's our dream here at She Factor, for you to live like that every day. To live your life with purpose and have a community of women behind you every step of the way, just to support you through that and support you through that journey and cheer you on and hold you accountable. So it's time for a big announcement that I already actually accidentally posted on the screen, but now you see it. So we are launching the She membership on May 1st. And a lot of you are probably like, what does that even mean? But the She membership is a platform that we have been working on for literally the last month, just pouring our hearts and souls into it. When all of this stuff started, we were fully events-based company. Like, all of our events were live in person. The real core of everything we did was because we wanted you all to connect with each other in person. And we really had to pivot. And we were like, how do we bring that same experience to all these women and help them create the life they love without having live events and even virtual events? Because right now we can't even see all of the hundreds of you that are on right now. So the She membership gives you an all-access pass to your virtual girl game. If you're really looking to create a life you love, this is your ultimate guide. We like to say we're not your average cheerleading squad, we're your squad for life. But everything we've built is just for you guys, like literally custom built this for you, our community, because we just want you to see all of you rock this world that you're in right now and just love your life. So what can you expect? We strive for 3 things here always at She Factor: community, growth, and purpose. So you can expect just that. You can expect a community of women who will stand by you in all times, tough times, good times, all the time. Build you up every freaking day. I know that those of you who are a part of this community know that. I have you all like cheering in the back of my mind right now, building me up. And just be and grow into the best version of yourself. So on top of that, you're going to get free admission to all of our live and virtual events every month. Unfortunately, we are a business and we have to survive. So we are going to start charging just a teeny tiny little bit. We still want it to be accessible, but as a member, you will get free admission to all those events. You'll have access to resources and tools and mentors and coaches and events. And all of this was intentionally made to help you and guide you on your journey to She. So speaking of intentionality, you are going to live that fullest, most joyful, amazing, jump out of bed every morning, don't want to go to sleep, best life, because you're going to be living it with purpose. And this is what the She membership is all about. So we know that times are tough. Like I said, we really want this membership to be accessible to all of you guys. So we've set up several options to meet you where you're at. You can go to theshefactor.com/membership to look and read more about it, but you can choose to pay $10 a month for just our She Basic membership, and that does get you to the event still, or you can save some money and do completely a year full of the She Basic for 2 months free, so $100 a year. We also have a She VIP membership where you will get even more support and resources, plus the She Kit that we've been talking about all night with all these amazing goodies. You'll get one of those every month, and that will be for $250 a year. So as promised, I don't know if any of you guys realize this, but the first 75 of you who've registered for the event are going to get 25% off our yearly membership options. So we'll be sending that to you tonight. And then as you fill out our post-event survey, which I will also send to you guys within the next hour, if you fill out that post-event survey, you'll be entered to win one of our finance She Kits, which has all of the amazing resources all of our speakers have been talking about all night. And it will have the Nicole's book and all of the amazing goodies we've been talking about. You'll also receive 25% off our yearly membership options, like for 75 of you. And then you'll also receive all the other special offers that our brands, brand partners and speakers have provided. So go ahead and make sure you fill that out within the next 24 hours and you'll get all of that. And then the actual membership will go live on May 1st. So if you're interested in receiving notifications, just go check out the shefactor.com/membership. We seriously can't wait for you guys to experience this. Like, I cannot tell you how just incredible it feels to actually see it come to fruition and see you all get to experience it and just experience She Factor from a whole new perspective. So excited for you guys to see it and feel it with us. Joining the coolest girl gang ever. Last but not least, we already have next month's event all planned out for y'all. So we're going to be having an event called You Gotta Have Faith with special guest Jess Ekstrom. She's the founder and CEO of Headbands of Hope. It's such an amazing organization. They create headbands for kids with cancer. And she also just wrote a book called Chasing the Bright Side. And she's going to come on and talk about that and how having faith and positivity really helped push her career forward and just her journey in general. And then we're also going to have Stephanie Kwong. She's a hypnotherapist and transformational coach. It's just going to be so fun. We're going to do some fun things with her as well. So faith at She Factor in She Factor lingo is all about getting grounded and connected to yourself and getting in tune with where the universe is guiding you, what the universe is telling you. And I think I'm speaking for myself. I think I speak for all of you. I think we all can use a little bit of faith right now, especially in these unprecedented times. So just that's what we're going to talk about all night. Whatever faith means to you, it's so important that we all listen to that voice within us and use that intuition to guide our path and get grounded in something bigger than ourselves to get us through these hard times. So join us on May 20th. For another amazing event of girl power and inspiration and just so much fun. I love watching the chat light up, guys, and just all this whole entire event, seeing all of you guys interact with each other and interact with the speakers. So RSVP for the event is not actually live until our membership platform goes live. So even though basically you don't have to be a member to go to the events, but you'll register all through the platform. So if you go to the shefactor.com/virtual squad, and I'll link all of this in the follow-up email too. You can sign up for a notification to be notified when that registration goes live. So excited. It's going to be a great event. Huge thank you to all of our speakers. It was such an incredible evening with all of you guys, such amazing insight. And thank you all for coming, and we appreciate you all. I hope you stay inspired and make sure you're taking care of yourself. And we can't wait to see you all embrace the super women that you are and become the bajillionaires that we know you all can be. So we'll see you next month, ladies. And I hope to hear from you all soon and that you're interested in She membership. It's going to be awesome. Love you all. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here. I think I'm going to end the meeting, but I don't want to end the Q&A if people are still answering. So I'm going to play some music and leave it open for a little bit so that people have some time to phase out. If you need anything, I'll just be sitting right here. We did this a little bit last time, but I'm going to play some music to make it less awkward. So if you have any other questions, make sure you put them in the chat or just reach out to the speakers directly. But we'll also post all the giveaway winners on Instagram, so check that out also. And I'm going to play some music so I stop talking. Some J-Lo. We'll listen to some J-Lo. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you.